Go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Brightside Global Trade TV, and we are so excited to have in our studio, we have two amazing people. I absolutely love it when I meet a woman in a presidential position and leading a pharmaceutical company, so that's even great and exciting. So today we have Marcy Rogers. She's the president and Chief Executive Officer of Spinemark Corporation. We have Jerry Baker, who is a U.S. Navy veteran. Thank you, Jerry, for your services. And he now has his own company called Fit for Life. And we have Elton Brewington, who is the managing editor and anchor host at Brightside Global Trade, and me, Elizabeth Claire Brewington, with Brightside Global Trade. So welcome, Marcy, and tell us a little bit about yourself and Spinemark. We're so excited, and thank you for your time today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Through my history of my career in medicine, the one thing that's always been my driver is being a patient advocate. And so when I got started a number of years ago, I was first in the field of craniofacial surgery, helping children with deformed faces like the boy in the movie Mask get surgery and then recreate themselves so that they didn't always have to be hidden or hide their faces or not want to go to school. So that was 17 years of my life. And because of my love for those children, I ended up taking it all the way to the White House. We had congressional hearings, and Mrs. Bush helped us, and Mrs. Reagan, and it was an amazing event. So many celebrities involved, like Cher, who it was just a wonderful leader for us. So that led into my getting into the field of spine, neurosurgery, orthopedics, because I realized that everything I'd done for craniofacial surgery needed to be done in that field. But, instead of it being 1 in 200,000 people who have a craniofacial problem, we had a population of 1.8 billion people worldwide suffering from back pain. And the World Health Organization even called it one of the biggest epidemics and uncontrolled but potentially curable problem we have. So that was the impetus. And so in 1991, after my work was done with the children, but I still stay in touch with a lot of them, I got into that and decided to try and do the same thing with Spinemark. First of all, by creating a network of centers, best-in-class surgeons and other allied health personnel, because you can't just go to a surgeon. It takes a whole team. And then on the research side, I formed a CRO because I was doing a lot of work with companies like Medtronic and Synthes on the reimbursement side. That's kind of one of my expertise. And I realized that if we wanted to really advance disruptive products getting into the marketplace, we needed an accelerator. So that was the impetus for me getting into what I'm doing right now. I have a consortium of 8 to 10 companies that I'm bringing to market under Spinemark CRO that are totally disruptive. And the first one that I love is Prevacus, the first concussion drug in the world. And and it can be used on children and adults. It can be used. A big target is in the military, Jerry, as you well know, because traumatic brain injuries are a horrible problem right now with veterans and active duty. The standard care is basically archaic. They tell you to be in a dark room with your windows closed and rest. And it's only now that we're developing national awareness of this because of what's happened with football and soccer and the military and others. We want to take care of those people. I actually took Dr. Jake Van Landingham, the person who invented this drug, Prevacus. It's a neurosteroid that it's inhaled through the nose, and you can deliver it anywhere, on the field, at the side of the road from a car accident, in the ambulance, children and adults. And so we've been pushing with the FDA to try and get an accelerated clearance for that. The other product that we're coming out with, and by the way, I have a great, wonderful investor spokesperson, Brett Favre, who's just been fantastic in helping us get the exposure we need to this problem and also helping us to identify resources. So we're also next month coming out with actually a cream that can be used in children, adults, military, elderly, that has a lot of brain-friendly ingredients, antioxidants, and things. And we're going to launch that as a precursor to Prevacus because it helps mitigate with falls and probably pre-contact sports activities. We're continuing studies on that. We know it gets to the brain in 20 minutes and stays there for 2 hours, 6 hours, peaks at 2. But so that's the next product, and it goes on down the line. I've got devices, a drug for Alzheimer, and that's my mantra. My legacy has to be that we change the world for these patients. So that's my commitment to this, and I've been using all the resources I have to advance it.
Wow. And
that's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's amazing.
We haven't done anything yet, but it's a mission, you know?
No.
But it's still a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
always a journey.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to get out of order, but Prevacast is what it's called?
Prevacus,
yes.
like the Greeks. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a concussion drug. Oh, wow. And it eliminates brain damage in some regards?
Well, what it does, it's a neurosteroid that we've put into a powder, and they inhale it through an intranasal delivery system. So it goes straight to the brain. And we know that steroids reduce inflammation, but this is a nanoparticle. It's really cool. It reduces inflammation. It eliminates swelling and things like that. So there's we've got the cost of goods down to where it's $300 for 13 treatments. We had to really reconfigure them. It took a long time because we wanted everybody to be able to get it.
Oh, very good, very good.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
So Jerry, tell us about you and your experience and Fit for Life.
Yeah, sure, but I wanted to ask a question first. Did you say this particular drug was helpful with Alzheimer's, or is that something else?
No, we have another drug that we found 12, Jerry, you'll be excited about this. We found 12 drugs that failed FDA clearance. Why? Because they were delivered systemically through the body during their clinical trials. And so the first one, we got a hold of them and we're reconfiguring them into powders, and starting with Alzheimer's, we're going to develop proof of concept to show the efficacy of this, and then hopefully sell it off to big pharma, that one. And then we have 11 more for ALS and a whole bunch of central nervous system diseases.
Wow.
But yes.
Now, have you had any contact with Maria Shriver?
I have not had, but you know, I will tell you, I'm not shy about talking to celebrities. I mean, I got Dick Clark and Cher and all these people, but I haven't approached her yet because I wanted to wait until we had, you know, I'm raising the funds for all of this by stepping into COVID when it happened. And I'm selling PPE since February. It's the craziest, wildest, nuttiest business I've ever been in my life to raise money for my consortium, because who was going to give any money to anybody when COVID hit? Not me.
No,
exactly.
That's true.
So
what would you say to Maria if she was watching this broadcast?
What I would say comes from my head and my heart, and that is that we have a tremendous opportunity to change the lives of these patients. We need $3 million to develop proof of concept. We can take it all the way to the finish line. That would take a lot more money, but we thought if we got the proof of concept, it'll only take 9 months, and the lives of these patients potentially will be forever changed, because it doesn't go through the system. All of these drugs fail because they might call a kidney problem or a liver problem or an adverse event from your stomach, but if you direct it right to the brain, it doesn't do that.
That's amazing, Nancy, because years ago, I mean, the FDA has always struggled with the transformation of drugs that go directly to the brain when they're primarily a liver delivery system.
Yes.
Most of the drugs go to the liver and are distributed out. It's the French who have been involved in drugs that go directly to the brain, and they're having great success. I don't know why FDA are slow on that, but I commend you. And as a matter of fact, perhaps the success of your effort could mean that the FDA would start to turn toward drug delivery systems that go directly to the brain. I share this with you, and I don't want to belabor with your suggestions, but the point of it is,
I think what COVID has done for the pharmaceutical industry, because I've done a lot of work with this and years of getting FDA approvals. I think what COVID has done is it has made them more responsible now to move a little faster with the approval process. And I think that, we are at a point when patients are willing to take that risk with the side effects and the long-term implications. So I think that, I think it's time. I think it's a good time for you. I really
this is a great time.
Let me tell you a couple of things that are happening. You are exactly right about the FDA. So because there's no doors I'm not going to walk through to keep going with this. I actually reached out to the chief scientific officer of the FDA, developed a phone relationship with her. It was like we must have known each other in another life somehow or something. And she actually looked through everything on Prevacus and thought that it potentially was a breakthrough drug. But and she also said, once we finish our phase 1A and 1B, which we're doing in Australia, once we get the $3 million, then she wants us to immediately go to an IND and help us get it cleared within 2 to 3 years. She also directed us, Jerry, to the DOD, which is why we went last December and met with them and the White House, because they were blown away by the results in Dr. Van Landingham's work. So the other thing I would say, speaking to your point, you can't believe. So most people look at COVID as they kept us in our houses and it's a disaster. The economy is tanking, small businesses are gone. And yes, that is all true. But what I've seen now is what the FDA and Medicare is doing in 8 to 12 weeks, they've never done in their life. They're clearing disruptive products under an emergency use authorization. That's gloves, masks, respirators, you name it, or other products. Like I even have a device right now that detoxes patients and helps with pain that we presented to Medicare, and they went crazy over it because if patients aren't taking drugs, military or otherwise, it's better. So I saw this as an opportunity. So I'm working with companies to look at their portfolios in between my PPE stuff and figure out how we can use COVID to get these products to market instead of waiting 6 to 8 years. So
absolutely,
we're there.
You're dead on. I spoke at the NIH conference a week ago, and that was exactly what I talked about, research and data that was missing. And I think that right now, this is going to set up, we'll be able to use this, that if you accelerated the research and you got these drugs approved for the vaccine for COVID, then you can do the same for the others. So I think this is going to be a breakthrough for us because people like us who've spent 50 years trying to get medications into market know how long this process is. And so I think this is a breakthrough for us. I think it is really a time when we will see medical research come to life. And it needs to, because the people have need for what you're offering. And it justifies the reason because you have the evidence-based research, and it's time that we move faster.
So Nancy, I think we've agreed that you sit on Marcy. We have agreed that you sit on the front edges of some cataclysmic changes with the FDA and perhaps how we consume and regulate drug use, because there are some drug breakthroughs out there now that can really have life-changing impacts. But of course, because of the procedures that they follow, and quite frankly, it's politically political
Oh,
in
yeah.
terms of what drugs reach markets, and also is the economic factors related to those things. But in that regard, there's got to be some engineering to take place. Because there's no actual political reason why a drug that can have transformative capacity to our community and culture that's not introduced and delivered and offered as an alternative or substitute for the ailments and chronic disease that people are suffering through.
And,
So
veterans and military, the DOD can help us by helping us get, Jerry, a priority review voucher, because they have this clause that if for counterterrorism, if you have something that will accelerate healing for people who have to go in and detonate bombs and all that, and so but the thing is that there's a lot of misunderstanding about what happens with these patients, because right now concussions are an epidemic in children.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And children shouldn't suffer long-term impacts and difficulties because of not being able to get access to the treatments or drugs that can have transformative benefits for them.
I know, that's right. So let's go to Jerry real quick. Jerry,
Yeah, sorry,
you want to
I
quick
was talking
introduction?
No,
And then we'll come back and talk about COVID.
Okay. Okay.
I keep coming up with other questions, but
That's
me
okay,
too.
Jerry. You can ask.
I mean, this is amazing. This is really amazing.
Well, I mean, if you want to ask a question, that's fine too.
Right.
But
no, I'm just curious
I
now. I assume you probably have a company or that you work with to help you to get FDA approval of a drug or a substance or not.
Well, you're looking at her.
Oh, okay. Because believe it or not, there's a company in my area, and that's what they do. They help.
Well, I'd love to talk to him because I can only do so many things at one time.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can find his information. I know where he's located. He's probably more than 25 miles from. Matter of fact, I interviewed with him for a job, and then my business started to pick up, so I didn't follow through with that. And I asked about Maria Schreiber. The only reason I know that is about 3 years ago, I worked with Shackley Corporation. I don't know if you're familiar with Shackley or not.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, that's kind of the opposite side of the pharmaceutical areas. Like,
Right.
Here's what you can do to avoid pharmaceuticals. So I don't know. It's like, but
Well,
she was,
we have a whole wellness and holistic product too. So I'm a big believer in that.
yeah. Oh, good.
Okay.
But she was at our global convention, Shackley Global Convention 2-3 years ago, at a time when Shackley had developed and released, and everything they do, of course, they test it. And they got clinical tests, clinical trials. We've got 147 or so clinical studies, most of which are published in peer-reviewed journals. But this was one that was called MindWorks, which was,
Right.
It helps to accelerate but increase the blood flow to the brain and shown to decrease brain shrinkage and so on. So our president and CEO, Roger Barnett, they were sitting on stage talking about this. And, well, wait, we're being recorded. I can't tell you the story that Maria.
No.
Oh,
okay. All right.
They might be insulting to the person who was the object of the story, but bottom line is Shackley agreed to donate a portion of all their sales of MindWorks to the brain research. I don't remember what it was, brain research group. So, that's how I happened to actually see Maria Schreiber and heard her speak. I'll tell you the story she told later.
Okay.
Well, tell us about your Navy background.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I was actually trained as a medical technologist, and at the time that was 1971, and the Navy was commissioning medical technologists to run blood banks and clinical laboratories. So it was either that or go in the Navy and become a medic with the Marines. So, and we were in Vietnam at the time, so it made a lot more sense to go with the commissioning program, obviously.
Right. right.
So, but they were good. They sent me to graduate school at the College of Medicine at Ohio State. I got my master's in clinical pathology, and we then managed clinical laboratories. But as time went on, there's a number of other programs I ended up managing. And spent 27 years doing that, and then another 15 years working in the DoD healthcare system. And so when I retired, looking at healthcare, I recognize the fact that healthcare, they do a real good job at diagnosing disease and so on, but not a real good job at preventing it. And what impressed me about Shackley was just all the science behind everything they do. They don't release anything unless it's been tested and you have clinical trials to support its use and so on. So that's,
hold that thought, and let me get back
that's
to
that's what really drew me to Shackley.
So
Thanks, Jerry.
fantastic, and I'm expecting a package, so I'm excited to try this great Shackley product. But tell us, Marcy, about COVID. Tell us about,
your experiences, what you've understood, and how you see the future of the COVID vaccines and what the impact, because they directly relate to what you've been facing, and to help us understand more or less about drug previews. And I have other questions, but the one that's outstanding though is that, okay, have you tried an international approach, and or have you considered the preview, because this impacts, there are auto accidents.
This is worldwide.
It has worldwide implications, and some markets are a little more receptive, and they could bring you to full breadth, market delivery in no time.
Well, so, your questions are excellent, and I appreciate it. First and foremost, though, let me just tell you, I'm not a doctor. So I talk medically, but I'm not a doctor. So relative to the vaccine, first of all, I have my own personal views about COVID, and they've been validated by what I've experienced. I think that there's a lot of politicizing right now, and a lot of media sensationalism that really takes our eye off of the ball. And so because of that, you have people that are either scared to death, and so scared that I go to an ATM to take out $20, and someone comes up and starts yelling at me because I don't have a mask on, but there's nobody around me. So, but it's all fear-based. And so I'm compassionate about patients. And so I have to also accept that not everybody is going to have the same opinions I do. And
people are afraid, though. They're afraid.
They're afraid. And we need to educate them to comfort them. We don't need to keep scaring them. I think that I believe in the vaccines. I have bought stock in the companies doing the vaccines. I bought stock in Gilead when I learned about I can never pronounce it, Recividril, the drug that treats COVID. One thing I do know is that what we are missing because of our fear on all levels is that the Spanish flu killed far more people. Okay. 675,000. Right. And so when everybody is screaming about there's 200,000 people that have died and in the US, and yes, that is terrible, but perspective here, because we don't have a way to control it yet. So until we have a treatment that's on the market, and until we have vaccines, and you've seen Lilly just had some problems with their vaccine, Modema had theirs, Johnson & Johnson had an adverse event, but there's like 12 or 15 companies trying to race to the finish line to get it. And so I think that will calm some of the waters. And in the interim, we just have to be very compassionate about what we say, what we do, and how we treat people. Because
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and we're gonna have
Absolutely.
to
Mhm,
we're
mhm,
gonna have to take some risks,
mhm,
and we're gonna have to go through this together
mhm.
until we get to the cure.
Right.
The other side.
And like everything else, we are in
Right.
discovery stage,
Mhm.
and we're gonna have to, take a hit on something, and then take some wins on something.
You know,
But we
Well,
are in a pandemic. It is true. We are in
and
a
we've
pandemic.
never been in one. What generation? I mean, this is my
Yep.
first pandemic. You know?
uh-huh.
And
Yeah, really.
and so, I think that there needs to be so much more education to the public about what's being done, not just vaccines, but
Mhm,
we
mhm.
just need to be reaching out to people of all ages to help
Uh-huh.
them with understanding what is real and what isn't. And
Right.
and and understand that everybody comes from a different place.
Mhm.
So
Well,
what I've learned from COVID is
mhm.
as a result of COVID, the whole launch of PPE sales is the craziest thing you've ever been in your life. I've never seen a business. I've been in medical for a long time. I've worked with all the major manufacturers and the small ones and the startups. Never seen anything like this. It's like what happened in Texas in the early 90s when they were flipping land 20 times a day and
Mhm.
selling them, arbitraging them.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
you have fake buyers, fake sellers, fake products,
Mhm.
and there's no rules of engagement.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
it's not like, okay, I'm going to set up a distribution company for COVID-19 PPE supplies. It's taken me from February to today to be able to get my feet on the ground and find a couple of real sources and support the people I want to help, large or small. We are trying to get, we've got hospitals out there that can't get 1860 3M masks. They're medical masks. So
Mhm.
we made with a partner of mine, we made a commitment, whether they need 10,000 or 1,000 or 1 million, we will get them those products.
Right.
And I think that's what needs to happen.
Mm. Yeah, essentially, I think that, when it comes to medicine, science, organized medicine, science, and the cure, I think that, the people who provide the cure, alternative solutions, they have the controlling hand. Because
Yes.
at the end of the day, people that are sick or suffering or in despair, they will, it's just like COVID. If it was determined tomorrow that the air from a tire would be a curing element, you'd see people out there, taking the air out their tires and breathing it in.
But
so it's the cure. People are looking for the cure to
Because
matter.
they're scared.
They're scared, but they want to be healed too. They want
Right.
normalcy. They want normalcy.
You're going to see that. You're going to see a lot of non-evidence-based people coming out with products.
Yeah.
And
it's
you're
just
going
like-
to see a lot of experimentation because people are going to be so desperate that they're going to just try anything.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to figure out how to regulate.
But if you have a solution, a solution that works verifiably, I think people are bound to try it and not ignore science to get delivery in place.
I
think
agree. I agree.
So let's wrap this interview so we can get off the recording and then get on to other things. But so I'd like to conclude with that we are trying very hard with research and look for evidence-based and take precautions. Don't just jump into quick fix solutions that are not evidence-based approved treatments. And then as we wait for a vaccine, stay calm and be patient, and let the experts take their course and come up with solutions for us. So we're really living in the unknown, and we will come through. So give us 5 tips on how to stay calm, and then Jerry, you can give us 5 tips, and Elton can give us 5 tips, and then we'll close. Yeah.
All right, Jerry, what's your 5 tips? You want me to start?
Claire didn't tell me this was coming, so. Now,
You always come with the tip. You always come with the tip cup.
All right. No limit on how many tips. One tip is fine. Yeah.
so this is tips for how to deal with COVID?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay. One tip is relax. You know,
Okay.
it's not the
Very
end
good.
of the world. Number
Okay.
two, if you're out in the sun, and it just kills me when they tell you have to wear a mask on the beach and you're out in the sunshine and, you know, and the water, or if you're at the pool where the water's chlorinated, I mean, you're not going to get infected in those things. Number three,
Right.
of course, I have to say, if you're concerned about immunity, Shackley has some amazing products that are clinically proven to improve and enhance and strengthen your immune system. So, take care of that and take lots of vitamin D and zinc and other things like that help to build your immunity. That's all that I can come up with off the top of my head. So.
That's great, Jerry. That's great.
And I think I found that company. So.
Oh, awesome. So we'll connect.
Very good. Very good. Very
yeah,
good.
NDA partners. So they help people to. Anyhow, I'll send you the link.
That'd be great, Jerry. Send me your information so we can
Sure,
stay in touch.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Good.
So my
Okay.
5 tips, here's my 5 tips, or my tips. Because, this PPE world is the most exhausting thing I've ever done in my life. And I've done a lot of exhausting things, but nothing like this. You're on a phone from 7 or 8 in the morning till 1 or 2 in the morning. And it's the same routine every day. And you lose all track of time. I mean, I don't know. I cannot fathom that we're in the middle of October. I don't know where January and February.
I know.
But,
I can't believe
here's what I've done. First of all, no matter what happens, I get 7 hours of sleep because if I don't, I'll get sick. Number one.
Good for you. Good for you.
Number two, I meditate twice a day, 20 minutes a day or more if I need it.
Very good.
That helps me stay calm to the extent that my personality can do that. Number three, I'm very big, Jerry, and I take a lot of supplements and vitamins, zinc, resveratrol, I mean, all the things to give me the immunity I need. And number four, because I'm so busy, I also schedule eating a couple of times a day so that I don't forget. Okay. And so and the last thing I do is I work out for an hour almost every day, no matter what. I take that hour and do my exercise.
Very good. Very good. That's great. Those are great suggestions.
What are your tips?
Tips. I'm caught blindsided, but I just can't. I'm kind of curb my enthusiasm about your solution, Marcy. I mean, because I look at medical solutions and I look at where we're at and what we need to solve certain problems and conditions, and really those that are they can be incredibly damaging to our healthcare concern. But, to answer the question specifically, I like, wash your hands. That was something my grandmother used to always tell me, wash your hands. Always wash your hands. No matter what even if you don't think you should wash your hands, wash your hands.
Wash your hands, right.
And I'm going to cover your face if you're in presence of people over a long period of time. And, I support you in exercise. Exercise can resolve many of life's complicated health issues. Just consistent exercise that way. But, if you involve and consume yourself with those kind of items, because the body is an amazing unit. It can find, let's just say that if you're in a room where you breathe all the oxygen out of the room, the body will break down the molecule of carbon dioxide that is oxygen and breathe that, to sustain life. So the body is designed to help you heal as long as you put it in a condition that it can.
Where it can heal.
Put it in an optimum condition. So I think, there are things that we need to be conscious of to help us facilitate sustained life. And when there are incidences or cataclysmic trauma, then you have to find ways to help support those elements too. And I think science is doing all it can to help resolve issues but there's still more that can be done. And, you know, I was watching, and coming back to your product, I was watching a movie, The Kingsman, The Circle,
yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Right.
And in it, a guy was shot in the head, and they encased his head with some kind of platinum or plasma so that it healed his whole trauma. He just had a memory loss. I thought that was, but so, you know, we have to explore alternatives. So because as long as we're really, really, really driving on the cure for things, I mean, if you push yourself, because this cure needs to be had, held, and used by all. And even though science or traditional medicine might not, because it's politics, you know, all the AstraZenecas, the you know, Merck and Pfizer, all of those, they want your product, but they got to compete with you for it. And
Right.
they would rather have total, and they're looking for a license to do the same thing without you. I'll be honest with you, but at the end of the day, you have to maintain control and push the envelope for delivery, you know, and care for the patients. And that's what
Right.
it's really about.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
No, it's
I'm
all
excited
about the patient.
I
Yeah,
think,
uh-huh.
yeah.
Mhm.
On that note, I think everyone gave fabulous tips.
Uh-huh.
And my tips have always been the same, is listen to the experts.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes we have so much mistrust, but people are in leadership positions for a reason. And listen to the experts. They have more resources than you and I have. And then make your decisions. Second of all, look to magazines like mine, Brightside Global Trade, for accurate information. The CDC, NIH, look to authorities. Form yourself a group, like we have Brightside Club. Build a community so you can bounce off ideas with each other. And so you have you have places that you can go to for expert advice. The internet is full of advice. Always research everything you do. And then finally, just be safe. Just be of good health. Get yourself a good therapist if you need to talk to somebody. But
Right.
we are living in uncertain times, and just stay calm. Pray or meditate or do things that make you happy. And this is the time that you want to spend time with your family, friends, and find ways to be happy. Maybe this is the solution. On that note, I have to end this interview, but we can still talk a little bit more. And I'm just going to take 1 minute.
Till the next time.
Till the next time.
Till the next
And
time.
thank you.
Thank you all for being a part of this.